So when you're doing the approach to the design, when you have a project, it was interesting. You mentioned city officials, all the things that you don't think about. You're thinking, oh, what colors do I like? And what layout do I like? Do I want organic lines or
what style materials am I using?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's what people think of, but what's the reality?
Well, the reality is a good architect will take all the information and dissimulate how it's going to go together and reach all the goals that everyone's thrown at you. As cities, they've got the building department, the fire departments, the planning departments. They have all these different groups of people who have requirements, and those are deal breakers. If you don't accommodate those things, you don't get to go forward.
They're generally like compliance issues, like safety items and...
Most of it, the building department is predominantly based associated to safety. So is fire as well. Planning department is a little bit more subjective elements, but at the same time, very objective, like the zoning for projects. There's a city plan. They want things in different areas. You just don't put a gas station in the middle of a residential area without it being zoned properly. So you can make changes to all of these things going through processes. No guarantees that it will happen, but it will slow your project down. So if your client's goal is one of their big items is speed to market, well, that would be a challenge to say, well, we may have to slow things down 6 months to a year before we will even know if you can do something like that. Yeah. Maybe it's better to find a different property, that doesn't have that risk. But the building officials are one of those things. I always wanted to go to the different cities, find out who the people were that I was going to be dealing with, talk to them about the project before we even started the project to confirm codes, talk to them about the project type. In some cases, like in critical facilities, when I was doing projects in a lot of jurisdictions, they didn't even know what I was talking about. They had no idea what a switch center was or a data center was. They'd never been in one. They'd never seen one. They didn't know the code and the codes. There's nothing written specifically for them. So a lot of times you had to go and educate them. I remember a time we were up in Kent, Washington, and we were looking at doing about 1 million square feet of renovations to existing Boeing buildings, warehouses. And the city, we had a early meeting with them, and in this project, from the design side, was being led by the mechanical and electrical engineers, and we were a consultant to them. They were presenting to the city officials, and they're using their engineering speak, and I could see that the building officials had no idea what they were talking about. So when we started talking about things like, well, what are the requirements for parking or setbacks or this, that, and the other thing, the responses they were getting were completely off the rails.
Right.
So I happened to bring images of what the end result of a project is. Here are these generators. Here are these fuel tanks. Here are these mechanical units that are, those elements themselves are larger than locomotive trains. Inside, there are not people. This is not a space designed specifically for people. Not designed for people because there are critical facility projects that have a lot of people in it. But you go through it, and by the time they got done, they were, that's more like an industrial. Yes, it is. It is more like an industrial space. But the way that the code reads, it says it's a B occupancy, and B occupancies is, associated to office buildings and those kinds of places. So their codes didn't even know how to address it. The architect had to be brought in to try to coordinate things to get the answers that you really wanted to get on the projects.